Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another installment of Scott's Tennis Selections here for Tuesday, June 4th. Before we get into the plays of the day, we'll actually recap what happened in the last video we had, and we ended up picking up a loss in the one Martin Del Potro match against Jordan Thompson, as we recommended Thompson on the plus 5.5 based on an injury fade on Del Potro's knee. And the first two sets were tight, 6-4, 6-4, so a tiebreaker loss, and we would have actually won, but Del Potro ended up smacking him, and he ended up winning that match in straight sets before proving that his knee was actually bothering him by losing to Kakanov today in 4. But regardless, we end up picking up a loss, and we're actually we're going to look to bounce back today on one French Open match and one qualifying match. However, the French Open match we're going to be looking at between Rafael Nadal and Nishikori is actually not even on a head-to-head prop matchup on Bovada, which I've mentioned before, which has a ton of tennis deals. They also have a lot of match specials or tennis props, or however you want to phrase it. And basically, there's one prop here that I see a ton of value with at minus 120, and that will be the play that we are giving out today. That'll be the first play we're giving out for the tennis selection today. However, if you do not have this play available, as pretty much every book besides Bovada does not have this available, then I apologize. But at the same point, I would just love this play a lot, and for that reason, that is going to be our selection. So the selection we're going to look at is no aces served in the first 4 games of the match, which is available at minus 120. Now, I know that some of you might be thinking, wow, that's a very obscure prop to pick. Why would you lean in that direction? And the answer is that Nadal and Nishikori, as people know, are not very big servers. And head-to-head on clay, they generate pretty much no aces whatsoever. In the first set as a whole, the last 2 meetings on clay between these players, they've combined for 1 ace. And we only need the first 4 games. So in other words, we just need Nadal and Nishikori's first 2 service games each to not have any aces there. I know Nishikori won't have any aces because Nadal stands about 70 feet behind the baseline. And Nadal serves with so much topspin, and Nishikori, I expect to play him far back as well in order to combat that. I think Nishikori will get a racket on every single serve. Nadal's not a big server by any means. And I think that worst case is you'll get a couple of first serve winner points with Nishikori hitting into the net. But I simply just don't think any balls will get past either of these players on serve for the first 2 service games respectively. So for that reason, at minus 120, with no aces served in the first 4 games of the match, is an absolute steal, and that will be the first play of the day. Now we are actually going to be switching gears to a challenger match, which should be taking place at roughly 11:15 in the morning, and it is between longtime legendary server Ivo Karlovic, as he is going to take on Japanese player Juichi Sugita. They actually played each other in the Australian Open a couple of years ago and ended up going 5 sets. But the play that we actually like here is Sugita plus 3.5 games, which is available at minus 115 on Bovada. If your book does not have challenger events, then I apologize, but I see value here, so I will be giving that out as a play. One thing that people have to keep in mind here is that even though Karlovic is a tremendous server and is arguably one of the greatest servers to ever live, he is one of the worst returners in the history of tennis. And I expect Sugita to hold serve relatively easily in this one. Another reason why I like Sugita plus 3.5, people know that Karlovic is a great server, and that is correct, but it does usually take a match or 2 to actually switch services effectively. And Karlovic has spent the last couple of weeks playing on clay, as well as playing on hard courts. This will actually be his first grass court match of the year, whereas Sugita already had to play a first-round match in this tournament against Hoyt, and he ended up winning in straight sets. So Sugita's more accustomed to playing on the grass this year than Karlovic is. Do I think Karlovic will lose the match automatically because of that? No, but I expect Karlovic to struggle returning dramatically, as A, he's one of the worst returners ever, and B, because of the fact he's unfamiliar with grass and he hasn't played on grass in about a year or so, I expect Sugita to hold serve, and I expect Karlovic to struggle adapting to the surface change relatively easily. So for that reason, the 2 plays of the day will be on the Nadal-Nishikori no aces served in the first 4 games of the match, which is at minus 120 on Bovada. And we're also looking at Sugita plus 3.5, which is available at minus 115 on Bovada as well. If those 2 props or those 2 plays are not available on your respective book, then I apologize. But Bovada I've never been a fan of, but I have recommended them for tennis for the last couple of months. and their tennis props and their the amount of matches and the thoroughness that they use is definitely commendable. So for that reason, those will be the 2 plays of the day from Bovada exclusively. And with that being said, quick reminder of our sponsor. We have PointsBet, online sportsbook in New Jersey, and they have a couple of great deals for you. First deal is that you have up to 2 risk-free bets of up to $1,000. So if you end up losing on any of your bets, you end up getting your money back, which is definitely a good sign, especially for new books trying to give promos. It's definitely a unique one that I've not heard in the past. Also, NBA Finals deals, which is a team you bet on a money line bet after 3 quarters is winning, you win and don't have to worry about sweating out the 4th quarter. And Stanley Cup deal didn't apply today, but still, if the team you bet on is up by 2 goals at any point, then you win. So you don't have to worry about potentially choking away a lead. But last time, I'll repeat it, but I'll say it one more time. The 2 plays of the day for tennis will be on Nadal and Nishikori, no aces served in the first 4 games of the match at minus 120. And the second play will be on Sugita plus 3.5 against Karlovic, which is available at minus 115. And that match should be taking place at roughly 11:30 a.m. Now for some quick leans. I already gave my lean. In terms of Nadal and Nishikori, I leaned to Nadal in the under. Nishikori has played 2 grueling 5-setters back-to-back, as he had to end up beating Benoit Paire in the tough 5-set match. And before that, he ended up having to beat Gier in 5 sets as well. So he's probably exhausted. And Nadal, on the other hand, has coasted. He's only lost 1 set to David Goffin, but he just beat Londero 6-2, 6-3, 6-3. Nishikori is a great player. He's got great stamina. At the same point, you have to wonder how much of a toll it's going to take that he's played 10 combined sets in his last 2 matches. So I think Nadal's going to roll. I think Nadal will win somewhere in the realm of 6-2, 6-3, 6-2. I think he's going to smack him. But with that being said, that's my lean on that one. And in terms of the Federer and Wawrinka match, Federer has owned Wawrinka historically, as he's currently 17-2 heads up against Wawrinka. Wawrinka coming off a very tough 5-set thrilling match against Tsitsipas, in which he hit one of the greatest passing shots I've ever seen on match point. But in terms of the match itself, Federer hasn't dropped a set yet. I think Wawrinka will be able to take a set. I think he'll get a tiebreaker in here. So I would lean to the over, and I would lean to Federer money line here. In terms of anything substantial, I'm not going to touch the spread because I think this could go 5 hypothetically, but I think Federer will win the match. But in terms of the actual best value, I'd have to lean to the over because I think there should be one tiebreak here. Wawrinka and Federer have both looked really solid on clay in this tournament, and for that reason, I'm going to have to go towards the over. But that's going to do it for this installment of Scott's Tennis Selections here for Tuesday, June 4th. And good luck to all of you and your respective tennis plays this morning. Bye, everyone.